Yes guys, welcome back to a very subdued Cop Noise TV, but listen, I'm here for you, be here for me please, let's get through this because we've got another game to look forward to. This is the big match build-up show to Liverpool against Wolves, part 2, twice in a week. This time round we are in the FA Cup, so we can forget about the league. Let's put the defeat of this week behind us. Let's look forward to the game and hopefully let's see Liverpool progress into the next round of the FA Cup. But first, let's have a look at Wolves, and there won't be much to say really different to what I covered on the opposition review. Probably just don't want to focus too much about Wolves' form in the league, because we all know that in the FA Cup form goes out of the window and that counts for both teams. So let's have a look. Now, we all know that Wolves' season has completely turned around since Rob Edwards came through the door, and this is very clear, very obvious to see, because when you look back, Wolves up until the end of 2025 had only got 3 points. They'd only got 3 draws all season, and they're now on 16. So that just tells you the impact on what Rob Edwards has done at the club. Now we all know what happened in the game earlier in the week. Wolves, they battled, they harried. Was it to do with the fact that Wolves were good, Liverpool were poor? I think more of the latter, if I'm being honest. I think it was more to do with the fact that Liverpool didn't show real urgency in the game. There was no tempo, there was no flow to the game. They lacked loads of creativity. Lacked that, by the way. Let me just emphasise that they lacked creativity, and I think that helped Wolves, that galvanised Wolves, and that helped Wolves grow in confidence and ultimately take the game to Liverpool. And personally, I think this game coming up on Friday night is going to be a more difficult game than the game in the league. And this is simply because, as much as Wolves have galvanised themselves in recent weeks, their spirits have risen, they're still probably going to go down. It's going to take an absolute miracle for Wolves not to go down, and they've shown that they can compete against some of the best sides in the league. You know, they've drawn against Arsenal recently. Did they beat Aston Villa? I'm trying to think of it. They beat Aston Villa. They obviously beat Liverpool. So their tails are up at the moment, and they will fancy their chances in this game. I doubt Rob Edwards will rest any players for this, because a cup run could define Wolves' season. And as I say, they're probably going to go down, but if they can get a good cup run, potentially get to the semi-finals of the FA Cup, that gives their fans a trip away to Wembley, and that gives their fans something to kind of cling on to on what, on the whole, is probably going to be a dismal season and end in relegation. So this kind of brings me on to Liverpool really, because leading up to the week, I would have thought that Arne Slot will have had in his head what he was going to do in terms of, this is going to be my team for the league, this is going to be my team for the FA Cup. Now personally, I think maybe the result earlier in the week has planted a few seeds of doubt in Arne Slot's mind, because let's face it, can Arne Slot really afford to chop and change too much? Some fans will maybe say no, some fans maybe say yes, some fans maybe not care. For me personally, and I think that kind of brings me into the conversation around Arne Slot, because we all know the fan base are very much, I don't even know if we're split anymore. Is the seesaw tilting more towards most of the fans want Slot out? I don't know. Let me know in the comments, guys, what your preference is on that. Me personally, I've come to the conclusion that Arne Slot is going to be Liverpool's manager for the rest of the season, regardless whether we lose on Friday and get knocked out the FA Cup, regardless of whether I think we potentially lose the next 2 or 3 games in the league. I think, given where we are now in the season, I cannot see the club making the decision to cut ties and sack Arne Slot. So, as a fan personally, I've come to the conclusion of that in my head, that regardless of whatever happens this season, Arne Slot is going to be the manager of Liverpool. And whilst I respect people's opinions of Arne Slot and whether they want him in or out, or whether they just don't really care and just want to see Liverpool win football games, which is pretty much where I'm at, I'm not going to come on this channel and start kind of bashing Arne Slot every time that we lose a football game, because as much as the style of play isn't what I would prefer to see, ultimately all I want to see is Liverpool win football games. And if that means that we play slow, methodical football, but we come away with 3 points and we progress in the FA Cup and the Champions League, sign me up for that. All day long, sign me up. 7 days a week and twice on a Sunday. I'll have that all day long. Now, when looking at what potentially Slot might do for this, I don't think personally he's going to bring too many changes. I think the fact that he's got a core group of players, I think a lot of what we class as fringe players, we can't risk for this, because we can't risk potentially going out of the FA Cup. So I think Slot is going to potentially bring in 3 or 4 changes here, and what I would class as your kind of senior fringe players, and that is the likes of Andy Robertson, Joe Gomez and Curtis Jones. I think those are the types of changes that we'll see Slot make for this game. And whilst a lot of fans have been banging the drum now for the last few weeks about starting YNWA, and before I kind of come to if I would start him or not, I want us to be careful with this one, because he's a young lad and fans are putting a lot of pressure on. Start Rio. You know, even heard Steven Gerrard come out and say, this kid's got to start, this kid's got to start. Yes, he's putting in cameos of, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes that are potentially better than what the wide players on the pitch are offering. We still don't want to put too much pressure on a young lad who's only 17, who think he's going to be the answer and the saviour to Liverpool season. And I want to rewind people's memories back to, around maybe September, October time. Similar thing happened, whereas this time around now, everyone wants Cody Gakpo to be dropped. Back in September, everyone wanted Mohamed Salah to be dropped, and they were beating the drum for Federico Chiesa to start. And when Salah eventually got dropped, he then went to AFCON. Chiesa got a few starts, and he didn't do anything. Now, as much as we all love Federico Chiesa, he ain't up to it. I think we all realised that after he got a few starts when Salah was at AFCON, and we realised that as much as he's a willing runner, he'll work his bollocks off for the cause. The lack of quality and the lack of end product is there for everyone to be seen, and everyone's kind of veered away from Federico Chiesa now, and everyone's sort of swung towards YNWA, and we just have to be careful with Rio. Like I say, we don't want to put too much pressure on a young lad's shoulders thinking that he's going to be the saviour to Liverpool's season. In terms of injury updates, Arne Slot's come out today and done a press conference and said that Florian Wirtz potentially could get some minutes on Friday after pretty much ruling him out earlier in the week. So is it worth risking Wirtz? I don't think he will. I think Florian Wirtz is way too important to us in the latter stages of the Premier League and the Champions League, and whether he gets a place on the bench remains to be seen. But with that being said, let's have a look at what I think Arne Slot will do in terms of his starting 11 prediction. So in terms of a starting lineup, what I think Arne Slot will put out on Friday night at Molineux, I've gone with Alisson Becker in goal. I think he won't give Mamardashvili a start in this one. You can have your thoughts on that. Me personally, I think he's played Alisson, and I think he'll continue to play Alisson. I think Joe Gomez will come in at right back. Obviously, Frimpong started the other night. I think he got 60 minutes, and we saw Joe come on. Obviously, Frimpong's coming back from a hamstring injury, so I wouldn't imagine he'll go back-to-back starts, and Joe Gomez will come in. I think Konate and Van Dijk will continue their pairing at centre-half. I think Andy Robertson will come in for Milos Kerkez. Midfield's interesting. Although Ryan Gravenberch did come off at half-time because he picked up a yellow card and he must have committed 5 or 6 fouls, and the manager brought him off ultimately to save him from potentially getting a red card. He looks knackered as Ryan Gravenberch. I've said it before on previous shows, and I think Ryan Gravenberch will sit this one out. I think Trey Leone will get the nod. We've seen Trey come on, have a few kind of 5-10 minute cameos over the course of the last couple of months, and I think Trey will get a start in this one. And I think Curtis Jones will come in and Dominic Szoboszlai will play also in this one. And then up top, I know the fans are really wanting changes, but I don't think Liverpool have that many options, if I'm honest. I do think Rio Wingamo will start on the left. However, that doesn't mean that Cody Gakpo will be dropped, because I think Cody Gakpo will move into the striker's role, if you like, because Hugo Ekitike is our only number 9, and excuse me, Hugo Ekitike, for whatever reason, this baffles me that guy gets gassed after an hour. We may as well play with 10 men after an hour, because Hugo Ekitike is non-existent. He doesn't offer hardly anything. Let me know your thoughts on that one, guys, because it's starting to frustrate me a little bit, given that a young guy who has basically done a full pre-season. We're now in March and he can't do 90 minutes. Strange one. So yeah, I think Gakpo will play up top, and I think on the right hand side, Mohamed Salah will continue to play. He got a goal the other night. He didn't offer very much else, but as I said earlier in the video, I don't think Federico Chiesa is up to it, so I think Mohamed Salah will get the nod on the right. Let me know the thoughts, or let me know your thoughts, should I say, in the comments below on what you think Arne Slot might do, or what you think you'd like him to do. In terms of a score prediction, wow. Where do we go with this one? Liverpool will come through, and Liverpool will get a 2-1 victory. We will get our revenge on Wolves on Friday night in the FA Cup. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Score predictions, starting 11 predictions in the comments below. And don't forget, if you haven't done already, make sure you like and subscribe. I'll catch you in a bit.